Hearing loss can have many surprising causes, from medication issues to age. So I recently had a fascinating conversation with audiologist Dr. Gnewikow about everything from the inner workings of the ear to how common hearing loss is. Take a look.
In the population of people over 12 years old, which are young adults, about 12 to 13% have some degree of hearing loss, which is pretty big. In newborns, about 2 to 3 out of every 1,000 are born with some degree of hearing loss. So it's fairly common. It doesn't mean deafness. A lot of times you think hearing loss is deafness. It's degrees of hearing loss, just like visual issues.
Is it something that we'll all get as we age?
Age has an effect, but there are a lot of other things that cause hearing loss. Age is probably not the main issue. On this diagram up here, this is kind of a schematic of the ear. The ear is the outer ear, the eardrum, a little room called the middle ear that's transversed by some little bones. If you remember the hammer, anvil, and stirrup of your health class, and then the vibrations of the eardrum transferred through those into what's called the cochlea. This is the inner ear, and this is where the auditory nerve comes in from the brain. Most hearing loss is not in the outer ear. If you've got a blocked up ear, maybe, but generally it's not. A lot of hearing loss that is reversible is in the middle ear, related to fluid buildup. Sometimes the bones don't vibrate well. Sometimes you can have fractures in that area. But the vast majority of hearing loss is actually in the nerve endings in the inner ear. There's a number of things that can cause that. You have two types of hearing loss, acquired and congenital. Congenital means the kid's born with it. And that's not real common. But it certainly occurs. And then you have acquired hearing loss. Acquired hearing loss can come from tumors, which are not real common, but certainly can come from tumors. They can come from age, of course. They can come from exposure to high levels of noise without using hearing protection. They can come from neurological diseases such as multiple sclerosis, things like that. Traumatic head injuries, and even medications. There are a lot of medications now, a lot of antibiotics that can damage the hearing. Of course, sometimes there really is no choice if people are very ill. So those are some of the kinds of things that can cause hearing loss.
So then what are some of the solutions for hearing loss?
Basically, if it's mechanical, if it's in the middle ear, an ear, nose, and throat physician would be the individual you deal with. They can do surgery to repair the eardrum. They can also do surgery to repair the bones many times. But the majority of hearing loss, again, is not in the external mechanical aspects of the ear. It's really in the nerve endings in the cochlea in the inner ear. You can't fix that surgically. If you're completely deaf, they can do what's called a cochlear implant, which is like a new inner ear, not as good as a hearing aid. The majority of people that have damage in the cochlea, which is most people, including me, I have some hearing loss, is the use of hearing aids. I've got some little hearing aids on here. You can kind of see them behind my ear. They're not very noticeable, but we can take those and we can amplify the frequencies that are not being heard. But as far as fixing it, you can't really do it. It's not like cataracts where you can mechanically fix something. It's more like a neuropathy where the nerve can't be repaired. So what you do is you compensate by amplifying the signal through some form of hearing aid device, and they work quite well.
Now, what are some signs that folks out there might need to come to see someone like you?
I think the most common complaint is I can hear you when we're talking face to face, but if there's any other noise in the room, I hear you, but I don't always understand you. That's one issue. Another issue, which we can talk about at a later time, is ringing in your ear, which is called tinnitus. That's a sign. Typically, people turn the television up. They say things, ask people to repeat things a lot. And most of the time, the person with the hearing loss is not the person that really notices it. It's really the spouse.
Right.
And typically, we have enough ego that we don't admit it. But when everybody in the family says you're having trouble and we simply respond, it's not me, it's people don't know how to talk, then that's the time that you probably need to see an audiologist and get it checked out so you get an unbiased third opinion on that.
And Dr. Gnewikow is really a wealth of information. Audiology Hearing Aid Associates has 2 locations, one in Lynchburg on Langhorne Road, 434-528-4245. Also online, digitalhearing4u.com. They also have a location in Danville on Main Street. Their phone number, 434-799-6288, and again online at digitalhearing4u.com.